Good afternoon, everybody. Hello, how are you? Welcome along. Tuesday afternoon. Where did that weekend go? Just putting some birdsong on. For some nice background music. That should be loading now. There we are. So I hope you're alright. I hope you're well. Fine and dandy. There isn't anything to draw other than a line about 2 fingers up from the bottom. But I'm still going to give people about 10-15 minutes to get in because I know we've got some new people today as well. So it's good to have everybody unstressed from the same point. No Discord today. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. Yeah, do you want some tape? Hang on. That's alright, I got some here. Very slow texture. Well, don't worry. Rosemary actually has a really good hack. She taught me a really good hack to get the masking tape off. You use the hairdryer on it. It's amazing, actually. I never realised that running the hairdryer over the masking tape softens the glue. It's a good one, Rosemary. I passed that tip on to loads of students over the years. If you're online, do say hello, so at least I know you're there. And then we can have a party. Hello, Chris. Oh, hello, Jenny. Welcome. Jackie's a star, isn't she? Oh, well, that was your tea slave, was it? Well done, Brian. That's all I can say. Right, so don't worry. Oh, he's already bought you a cup of tea. Blimey, you've got him well trained, haven't you? Oh, I've got a squeaky chair today. So Jackie will be leaving in a second. I think you're all here now, though. Doesn't seem very many of you today. I think a few will be doing catching up. Yeah, apologies about last night's class, Rosemary. I still haven't got a boiler. It's being continued to be fitted today. It's ridiculous. I basically just use a selection of brushes, Jenny. Usually quite flat ones, and then some little ones. That probably doesn't help, does it?
Oh, they're on the screen now.
Oh, they're on the screen, so you can kind of see. I'll put a penny for scale. They're a bit old and manky, these brushes. Look at that one, that was flat.
It's a stabby
It's got a perm. These packs are. Oh, we need to put a pack of these aside for me to take on Monday. Okay. Or two, because we've got quite a few in, haven't we? They're $6.99 for a pack of 10, isn't it? Because you get these in addition. But I don't tend to use I don't really use round brushes in acrylic. Isn't it weird? I use flat brushes. Oh. Oh well, oh dear. I don't know why I don't use round brushes in acrylics, to be honest. It's just one of those things. I used to use a lot of round brushes, but I tend to favour flat nowadays. And that one is a long, thin one, but not that long. But if I show you, it's getting old now. It's quite a long, thin. I'm not overly prescriptive on brushes, because everybody's got different things. But what I will say is, don't use... Hello, Trish. Go and sit in the corner for being late. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. No, don't worry. It's all right. Yeah. No, don't worry about the drawing. No Discord today. Right. I think we're all good to go in here.
I'm leaving you.
No, the coin was there for reference of size of the brushes, so you could see. That's all. We don't need the coin. Yeah, you don't need a coin. It's just to give you an idea of the scale, because not all brushes are not all brushes have actually got measurements, and the sizes are irrelevant really. So Jackie's off now. So it's just little old me in the shop. So I'll have to abandon you if I get any customers. Thank you. Sweltering, isn't it?
It's absolutely boiling.
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 Thank you. Right, we're all in. I'm good to go. Oh, are you? Are you good to go? Don't worry. Don't worry. So we're good to go in here, and we'll. I haven't squeezed my paint out yet. So there's all the colours on the top of the screen. Black and white, obviously. Let me move these brushes just out of the way for a minute. See the mouse there, then I can squeeze my paints out for you. We won't need much in the way of red. Let's move the mouse totally out of the way because I can see that. So we've got white, which is just white. Titanium white would probably be better. Did you have a nice did you have a nice break over the weekend, Chris? Just be one sec. We don't normally carry them in as a brand. We can get them in fairly quickly, but we mainly pro art brushes. Which range of Windsor knitting are you after? We can get them in, and if they're in stock, they're usually here within a couple of days. If that, yeah. You do like, I mean, we do pro art sable brushes, if it's specifically for green skin. Yeah, yeah. Not many places will just keep them because they are so expensive. We used to stock the Series 9, I think, sable brushes years and years ago, but we had to run it down because there just wasn't enough use for them. Right, I can't, I'm in the middle of teaching a class at the minute, but let me just try and find a bit of paper. I know it's ironic in an art shop, but let me see if I can find some paper so I can write it down. So set of series 7, set of 4. I think they don't do very many sets anyway. So yeah, okay. We'll have a look. What's your name? And what's the contact number? Yes, please. Yes. Lovely. I'll have a look in our coffee break in about an hour, and I'll let you know if we can get them for you. All right. Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye. Sorry about that. Right. So we want white. We'll go with a bit of black. I've got a black one. And then 2 blues. So you want the ultramarine, which is warm blue. And cerulean or phthalo, which is cool blue. Let's move that penny out of the way. And then we'll go with cadmium red, which is a warm red. No, not much of that. Yeah, no, vermilion would be fine. Burnt sienna and yellow ochre. Raw sienna would work, or burnt umber as well. So burnt umber or burnt sienna, and raw sienna or yellow ochre, and that's just for the lower part, really, the land at the bottom. And the bit of burnt sienna or burnt umber, we'll probably use that within, although we might put a bit of the ochre colour on the in the sky as well, so it's not white, because there's that quite an interesting glow around here. Now you see the lightning, I've been in 2 minds about the lightning. I do want to put it in, but whether it's a paint job or a gel pen job, if it's a gel pen job, I can't ruin another one, because on Friday I went through an extra brush, an extra gel pen, because I ruined it. I'm terrible, aren't I? I'm a terror. So the challenge for you today, I shouldn't say this straight away, should I? The challenge for you today, if you look at the lightning in the picture, it's kind of the brightest thing, isn't it? So basically, to make that lightning feel bright, it needs to be the only white thing in the picture. So even our white clouds will need to be a shade of grey or cream, or both. Yeah, no, that's fine. Let me come and have a look. Yeah, those are right. Right. Should I put my light up? No, I won't. I'm going to work probably mainly with this little 1/2 inch flat. The one that's not flat at all anymore. It's seen better days, but never mind. I'm just going to jab it in a bit of water, because it's been a while since it's been used. It's been at least a week. As they're getting older, they're retaining water more than they retain paint, which is a little bit frustrating. You know what? I'm going to need way more white than that. I don't know what I was thinking. There. I can squeeze more out if I need it, but I'm just trying to plan ahead. So I want Oh, I don't know, about 4 fingers up. I'm going to put a bit of white here. So my brush is damp. When I work with acrylics, most of the time, across the main, I will work with a damp rather than wet brush. So I've got this ochre coming in here, and I'm going to add a pinhead of black. I just want to slightly dirty that ochre. And by doing that, let's bring that up and across. You can hear how I'm scrubby-dubby in there. Add a little bit more black up the top end. We really want to twist your brush. You can scrub, you can twist, you can move and manipulate. Let's have it. You really don't need to use much at all in the way of black, because it's a hungry colour. But by rolling the flat brush around, I know some of you struggle with this, so this is a really interesting session to try and get in it. But you might have your own way that you find works for clouds, or you might still be trying to find a way that will work as clouds for you. So this is just a bit of black. I haven't cleaned my brush. The more we clean our brushes, you see, the wetter it gets. And the wetter it gets, the sloppier the paint, and the sloppier the paint, the more problems we get. You could just jab. Jabbing works well. So it's very thin. There's no texture at all in that. So that's the yellow ochre. White and a teensy bit of black. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. No, not too much black. Just a tiny, tiny bit. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, pinhead of black. Now we've got to be careful with the electric blue up here. In advance, this is advanced warning. Because it could end up looking like blue sky if we're not careful, and we want that area of electric, and it comes in a almost like a number 7 shape from around here up and then down down this column. So what I want to do is I'm not cleaning my brush. I'm going in with cerulean and black and a bit of white. I might put a hint of yellow ochre in that. So cerulean, black, yellow ochre and a bit of white. Now I need to see. So we're making almost a cobalt turquoise. And let's scrub that, and then there's a bit of it that comes down here. So do you hear me? I'm making lightning sound effects. Sound effects. I'm off to Byfield this evening to do a lecture on art history. So if your paint is sticky, by the way, just add a bit of water on the corner of your brush. The corner of your brush. So I'm swirling around now with my brush. Swirl around. That's where the largest majority of paint is, of the blue. Because this is acrylics, we can really go over the top if it didn't work. Oh, Rosemary, you'll never guess what. You know, after the with the banana on the art class on Saturday's demo, and we were saying, you know, people's comments were getting greyed out on the live stream. Well, when I posted You know, the montage of lessons that we did last week saying which is your favourite. Everybody that said banana, Facebook hid their comment, and I had to go around unhiding them because Facebook has now deemed the word banana as something a bit rude. Crazy. I've cleaned my brush and I'm going in with a bit of yellow ochre, white and black. Although, can you see I've got bubbles occurring because my brush is too wet, and all I want to do with that, you see, try and blend in, but we don't need to blend too much, but a little bit of blending will be necessary. Maybe a bit of white. The good part is about all of this is none of it really matters. It will all cascade and blend in. It don't matter if it goes a bit greeny. I want it to feel like an electric storm. Now obviously this is all the sky. In a normal painting I say, oh well, the quicker you do it the better it looks. In something like this though, we need a little bit more care taken because there's a lot of layers of the storm clouds to put in. Hang on, let's have a look. Maybe add a bit more white. No, less water. Have you got here have this cloth. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine. No, this cloth. Just if you keep your brush damp, not wet. Yeah. No, my brush was too wet. But it's dried off. It's drying really quickly on a day like this. Reminds me, Chris, of the weather that we had that day. There was only you and I in the heat wave quite a few years ago now, and we ended up just going and painting by the river together because it was too darn hot. Actually, do you know, I like this creamy colour, so I think I'm going to mix up a lot more white and yellow ochre, a little bit of black. Again, oh, see, too much black. It's such a knife edge balance. Throw a bit more yellow ochre, a bit more white. I'm just going to fill all of this in where possible. You can see actually how wet my brush is, and it's not how I'd intend it to be. I'd rather it not be this wet. But again, just twist around. It's all about building up the layers. So at this moment in time, you may well feel that this is the worst thing you've ever painted in your life. And that's alright, because we've not finished. Constable used to spend hours just doing studies of clouds to make sure he got the feel right. But what I wanted it, can you see how black that is down below. So I'm flitting about with black and ultramarine. I'm not cleaning my brush because I want this as a black grey colour. And I've still got some of the cream on my brush. See, if this was oils, it would blend so beautifully together because it would all be wet. I was chatting to a customer on Saturday, because oils are wonderful because they take ages to dry, but it's actually also the problem with oils is that they take so long to dry. Whereas with acrylics, the beauty of acrylics is that it dries nice and quick, but the problem with acrylics is that it dries nice and quick. But if I add a little bit of black and a little bit of grey to start twisting in some of the wetter paint, again I'm just using the same brush, giving it a twist between my finger and thumb to help it disappear up and over. Is your greenhouse all done, Rosemary, by the way? Shouldn't really talk to you while you're twisting. Because some of this dark, it starts to slowly creep up the anvil style there. I'm not putting the cream on. We're just going to be playing around with lots of different tones, really. And it's almost the whole lesson is going to be spent on just the sky. I can't see. I'll come over, hang on. Ooh. That wasn't me, that was my chair. I'm not creaking that much. Ooh. I think there's still less water. Oh, yeah, better than it. Just damp. Don't worry. So this blue-black colour with a little bit of that ochre cream, I'm going to start plopping in up here again with that twist. But what we don't want is we don't want to eradicate all of that blue. We want to start working in with it. And we can work out where that lightning is. It's almost halfway down the sky, isn't it? It's just a little bit above the halfway mark where the lightning will come. So if we can make it a little bit darker. And again, if it feels sticky, just the tip of your brush in the water. It's so easy to start adding too much water, especially if you've come from more of a watercolory background. And I know for some of you that have been more watercolory, it almost is second nature to start adding more water. But you can always just smudge it in with your finger if you want to do some more subtle tappy blends. Get that dark right up the top. See, that doesn't look like it's electric enough to me. Maybe I'll have to put some more in, I don't know. We'll see how we go. Building up over the top. So let your brush run out of paint from time to time, and what that will do is it will increase transparent areas of colour. Can you see there? Look, I've got hardly any paint on my brush, so what it's doing is it's giving me a bit of colour without too much density, and it allows me to just put a little bit of colour on there. But my paint is drying faster than I've known it for a long time. We were lulled into a sense of security. I was planning on pumpkins and Halloween and all that kind of stuff because the air was starting to feel more autumnal, wasn't it? And then now we're back into summer. And I'm not a summer lover. See, my brush is too wet now. I'm trying to overcompensate the drying. Because they're casting shadows. The clouds are casting shadows on themselves. So this is where we really play around with the colour. And we can create lights and darks. And just do so much more than you think you can do. Skies are difficult, which is why I wanted us to do this whole skyscape. Because often we just tend to do straightforward blends, don't we? But you can see by having some areas that are slightly wetter has worked in my favour, to be honest. So a slightly damper brush has helped create more of a transparent wash. If you're finding that it's, as you're rubbing on the colour, it's lifting off the colour, just let it dry for a sec. we'll grab the hairdryer on it or something just to dip of the tip of the brush. So I'm now, can you see how wet that is? However, working on a slightly damper brush to build up the layers does work better, because we're creating sort of smoky glazes. So it is important for your underneath to be, for your undercarriage to be dry for this. So we can start going more dilute in places. I need to get rid of some of those lines. I scribbled with my brush for some of that, and it's got jagged lines, and I want, if I've got to leave my brush marks, I'd rather have squiggles and swirls instead of lines. But I think what had happened is that I'd dragged my brush across, say diagonally, but I hadn't squiggled, I just dragged. So I'm playing around again with the yellow ochre, white and a little bit of black. Not much. So you might find to do a bit of blending or changing tone that a damp brush will give you more of what you're after. But you can again just add a bit more black. Interestingly, the lightning is not the light source in this, because when you, I don't know, we don't really get big storms anymore, do we? But generally it's really sunny on the opposite side. So that's where we've got this sort of ledge of highlights and shadows and all of that. So thankfully these are the lessons today where you won't feel too left behind, because it's all the same, it's just a slightly different colour from time to time. I might go a bit darker up here. I'm not cleaning my brush. I want all of that. Can you see all of those different shades of creams, greys and blues on here? So I want it all to feel integrated. But I might have to put some more blue in, because it's not. I hope yours are looking a bit more electric than mine. Chris, I bet you've finished, haven't you? I just don't want this blue to look like sky. And it is and it isn't, because it's teal and sky isn't teal, but I might have to make a bit more of that colour up to sort of help blend it in. But we've got loads of time. We're 45 minutes into the whole lesson. So we've got well over an hour to play and roll the brushes. And again, just if your paint is sticky, the tip of your bristles You can twist or stab. You could almost dab, but you want to build it up slowly, really slowly. I'm keeping that light area there because that's where my lightning is going to come from. And I will create, I'll probably use a smaller flat brush in a minute because I want to keep this for the big area. But I think I need to lighten some of the teal. So I'm going to let this dry for a second and see where I go. So you can see how covering up semi-transparently with that little damp brush that we were doing, it does help see the colour underneath. And because we only want the lightning to be like the lightning to be white. We're doing all right. Slowly build up. I think I am going to need to make a little bit more of that turquoisey teal. Cerulean, yellow ochre, white. Add your yellow ochre very, very incrementally. I don't know if I can tap it with my finger. Oh, that's exactly the same colour as I've already got out. I've just mixed the same colour. Let's add a bit more white. Tap it with my finger just to slightly wet, not soaking and not runny, but we want to use this as a bit more of a glaze and see the colour underneath. I don't want it blue, I just want it to go a bit more green, I suppose. And there I am tapping with my finger. Well, there you go, Jenny. I'm finger painting as well now. If it gives you a softer effect, then that's perfect. That really is useful. Well, that kind of works. Now it's gone a bit green. I might use some of this to do some glazes when we finish the clouds. Let's give that a bit of a clean. Yeah, sort of that kind of a fashion. Whatever works best for you, Jenny. Seems like a good plan. That's what's great about painting, is everybody finds their own methods that work well. It's really hard with this blue, not for it to look like sky. So it may end up looking like sky, but that's all right. We can cope, can't we? So I'm going to start looking at slightly lighter tones, because obviously I say obviously a lot, and I shouldn't say obviously because it's not always obvious. The ground, the only bit of ground is burnt siennas and ochres. We can see that, can't we? And once that's on, that will mean that there is no white at all on the paper. So what we really have to be careful of is to not have neat white. So every colour will need to either have blue, grey or cream in it to get the dirtiness of the clouds in the structure. So I've just had to dampen this brush again because sadly it had gone dry, and I don't want a crusty brush. That's about the right cut. There may be a bit more yellow ochre in that, actually. Far more yellow ochre in this sky than I imagined I'd put in, but actually it works well. There's not really a lot up here to think about up the top left. Where this starts coming in now is there's little wisps of lighter cloud catching the light. So I'm dabbing it on and tapping it with my finger. Because it's really warm in here. 2 years ago we were very kindly lent an air conditioning unit, which was amazing, but I think we just have to suffer it now. How are you doing? All right? Good. Thumbs up. Excellent. Can you see how that's brought out a little bit of a layer there? So we want to keep some of that dark to create ledges. And I'm not going to tap where I want hard lines. I'm only going to tap where I want smudged lines. Because I know I can carry on building this up if I need to. Build it up, buttercup, don't break my art. Yeah, bit more white. I've got a very well loaded filthy brush here. So I'm dabbing where I want hard edge. And where I want blended edge, that's where I'm tapping with my brush. And my finger, rather. I do know I do know the difference between a brush and a finger, I promise. Might not feel it sometimes, but I do. So I'm hopeful that when I get home tonight, before I head off to the next to the class that I'm teaching, I will actually have a boiler that works for the first time in nearly a year. I'm sure my hot water went funny. We had a mini heat wave last September, and I came home from work and my heating wasn't set on, obviously, but it decided to come on because it was broken at 33 degrees. And it was just on full pelt. So we had to turn the boiler off, and then since that day haven't really had much in the way of hot water. I think I've had a week of hot water. I did have heating during the winter, so that's one bonus. I think I'm not a very whingy tenant, but I also am aware that I'm having a really good deal and I don't want to rock the boat, and I can cope. It's only me on my own, it doesn't matter. And I know that's not really the point, but I don't want them to have to invest more and put my rent up, because I definitely can't afford that. You know, I think I need a bit more white on this, but again, I don't want the white to be white, so I think I have to add a little bit of ochre, but I'm reducing the amount of black. So you let that dark fade into the next section. So by letting that fade away, you can build up another bit of texture. You may find a filbert works well for you. A filbert is a flat brush with a rounded top, and you may find that that really gives you the edge of the clouds that you want. Not everybody owns a filbert. They are quite nice to work with. There is one in this set, and if you're going to ask me, I think it's the number 4. Can you see it's got more of a rounded... It's flat, not pointy, but it's got a round, like a tombstone top, I guess you could call it. It is cup of tea time, and I think I desperately need it. I'm just adding slightly more highlights to some of these clouds. I've still got quite a lot on my brush though. I'm going to keep going until I run out of paint on my brush. Because that will also give nice subtle bits and bobs. And then we'll just keep gradually getting lighter and lighter. Let's create a base. Now, because my brush is so old and not flat, it's not giving me very many straight lines, which normally would be fine. But all my clouds are curving up. I'm having to deliberately make flat edge, hard edges. Is that looking like a sky? It is, isn't it? It's I might have to put some slightly more darker tones around some of these clouds. As it dries. Obviously there's not a real colour shift as such. But it's always good not to totally... Don't use neat white at all in this. I'm going to clean that brush, and I might switch to that little small filbert after coffee break. How you doing? Oh. Right, I'm going to put the drinks orders in. I'll be back in 3 to 5 minutes. See you in a minute. That's me. Right. I'm back. Hello. Let me just check if there's any comments. No. So I am going to start using a smaller brush, the smaller filberty type brush for the highlights. Although I don't want it white, as we've said, but I do want to start adding a few brighter lights. I might even add just a smidgen of the blue in there to make it less white. It's off-white all the way, that's what we're after. So as soon as I'm done here this afternoon, I've got to quickly scrub the classroom back down again and clean all the tables and do all of that kind of stuff, and then walk to the car half a mile away, and then start prepping for my tonight's talk and packing the laptop up and all of that kind of stuff. It's no rest for the wicked, isn't it, eh? Definitely. So I'm kind of flitting about a little, but can you see how this slightly bluer, I added a little bit of that cerulean within. I might add a little bit more. Let's bring some of the white over to that cerulean actually. What it does is it creates the white but with a slightly different tinge, which is exactly what we're after to create layers with, and we're not having pure white. We still have to have off-white, because that is what will help the lightning be like lightning. So we're actually being quite economical with the paint. If you could feel this, it's actually not, there's no texture to it. It isn't raised at all. It's very, very flat. Like my wallet. Because there's no things in it. Except for receipts. So you see, by making it slightly brighter and a little bit bluer, not blue, but just a hint. Do you remember, like, you could get for your net curtains? You know, you could put like a blue. My mum always used to get them a blue rinse thing that you'd wash your nets with this blue stuff, and it would make your nets look whiter. We're kind of doing that, but we don't want white. We want layers. And again, I'm letting my brush fade away. It looks better on the telly. There's some red tints down here, and I will be putting those in, but we'll be doing it as a glaze. I love a bit of glazing over. Let's scrub the brush. Maybe that should be a bit more ochre-y there though. Yes, perfect. I've lost some of that ochre colour, so I can put some of that back in. But again, if you find it's lifting off when you're adding slightly wetter or damp paint, don't worry. Just let it dry or hairdryer it. So it's not lifting up the colour that's already there. You're kind of adding extra bits to it. Right, let's stop for a sec. I have to say, mine looks brilliant on that. I'm just having a quick check on the on my phone to see if there's any comments, because sometimes it doesn't always show up on the screen. And on my little screen, it looks amazing. It doesn't look electric enough though. That colour looks the colour I want. The other stuff looks more like clouds, so I am going to have to add some glazes, so it'll be a good way of learning how to glaze today. Quarter-past 3 already. It's crazy, isn't it? Crazy. So I'll be playing with the blue light and the red light further down here, and then we'll work on some fluffy. Actually, that's what I should be doing now while I've got this colour on that brush, this mixed tone. This weird cloud that is cloud, because I don't want it to look like mountains. I think the thing to remember with this, it's a bit like when you're doing... What? Yes. Yeah, I think that's all right. That's fine. Yeah. Well, we're going to change the blue hopefully anyway. No, I think I'll be alright. You're doing alright, don't worry. It's fine. It's all about building up the layers. And that's the... that's where we're at. Oh, there's a big blue bottle in here now. I hate them. Just chased him out. I think I need... Do you know, I think I need to add some more darks. Because I'm looking at mine and thinking, oh, that's alright. But look at how dark the darks are on the actual doodah. Maybe I'll add some darks. Let me give this brush a good clean, because I can see the paint has started building up in the base of the ferrule. It's not until you see it. I mean, on the classroom screen, it looks awful because it's massive. But let's go with black with a hint of blue just down here. on the left. And let's smudge it in a little. I don't want to overkill with the darks, but I do think if we can get some darks in here, it will be really, really good to enhance the light areas. As you know, and I say many times, the darker your darks are, the lighter your lights will be. And sometimes you don't know how dark you should go until you've got a good way in, which we have here. So I'm going to follow Jenny's lead and do a bit more finger rubbing. This is the ultramarine and black. So I've made this a little bit runnier. So quite a runny blue-black this is. Oh, that's looking really dramatic. I need to bring, if I dilute some of that up, I can bring some of that underneath that cloud. Well, that's a bit too runny. I can tell you how I knew that was too runny, was because as I was tapping with my finger, the whole lot was being lifted up rather than it being moved. So that was far, far too runny. Maybe I'll put in a little bit of the dark. I said we'd probably have to do this. You may not need to. You may be jolly happy with the darks that you've got. Yeah, I think if I can get those teals right, I'll feel more confident putting the strip down here and then the lightning, because it passes behind and through a cloud, doesn't it? You've got lightning there, then it goes through a cloud and then it reappears there, and then it forks slightly up that way to the left and to the right. But it is all about the layers, and it's all about catching some thicker where you want. So where you want the highlights, you want the paint to be not whiter necessarily, but thicker and have more of an edge. So you can see this one on the left. That's got a definite edge of light behind the soft dark bit. And where you want the edges, that's where you want the hard lines. And where you want blending, you will probably find actually that having slightly dilute paint will work better for you. So it's a bit of a 6 of one and half a dozen of the other. Let's have a drink of tea. Maybe I should use a little bit of this glazy black just to help create that channel here a little bit more. You might want to add just add the water incrementally, See, there's that cloud there. I don't want that to look dark. Something like that, which is what the lightning will pass through. I've got a horrible smudge there, but because the paint is wetter, it's enabled me to move it. So that's the one bonus of the dilute glazes, is that it doesn't dry quickly. So if you've got an edge like I had, I could just soften it in. I do enjoy painting clouds. We very rarely get the chance to do such a big one. I think, Chris, you'll probably agree that it's very rare, because you've been coming probably the longest to the acrylic class. It's very rare we do a full cloud study like this and spend the majority of the lesson working on it. I think we've done it in watercolours, perhaps. Trish, actually, I can remember that we did a cloud study once. One of your first sessions, probably, wasn't it? You've not been coming long, and I inflicted a stormy sky on you. All about the layers. You did, that's right, and I'm glad that you did come back for more. It's interesting, isn't it? Because I think I can't remember what that was. It's probably ingrained in your mind, isn't it? It's got a little bit darker down there. Right, I'm going to try making more of my teal colour for my sky, and now I've seen that looks better, I might add a lot more ochre. A lot more ochre to help get that electric feel. That might work. More ochre, cerulean blue, white. Then we've got the orangey reddy brown glazes down the lower parts of the clouds that I just want to enhance a little bit. And then the foreground. We've got about half an hour to go, so we're doing all right. Ah, that's a better colour for my brain. This teal tone as a semi runny glaze works better for me to know it's not sky. It's almost a colour that we'd use to paint the sea. In fact, it is a colour that we'd use to paint the sea. Slightly more green, but it does go like that, doesn't it? When it's really tempestuous, it's the same when it snows. That yellow imposing feeling of the colour really comes through. Let's shove a bit down there. Creep it across. I need to add a bit more dark back over the top of some of that now. I said it's a bit of a flit, isn't it? It's one thing or the other. So a bit of the blue black to bring some of those colours back a little bit more. That's a bit too dilute. So that the dab test is actually a really good way of working out if you've got too much water on your brush, because if you dab, and as you dab with your finger you get actual fingerprints, then the chances are your paint is too wet. Your glaze is too wet. You want it just wet enough, and I know that's so hard, and it's something that I could only really show you in person. Oh, so I can, hang on. Yeah. Dry that off a little bit. It's hard to get it. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. No, that's fine. It's all going to change anyway once this goes on, and this is no longer white. I'm not trying to build it up, so we're waiting on that. But I do want to do a bit of a cadmium red, burnt sienna glaze, kind of a rusty pink, and I'm just going to glaze that over lower parts of the sky. Tap it with my finger. Don't need much of it, but it is all across that lower band. Oh, got a customer, be back in a minute. back. Right. Right. I kind of like that pinky tinge down there now. I'm just seeing if I wanted to add some of that up here, so it's not just stuck in one area, but it does seem to tend to gravitate just on the lower portions. Right, actually I'm going to put those two brushes, or I'll just throw them across the room. You just check how you're doing. Oh. Yeah, good for you. Yeah. Right. Let me work on this base, and I'm going to use this 1/2 inch flat again. Oh, do you know, I am going to use the burnt sienna all the way across, and then we'll stipple and get texture on afterwards with the ochres and all of that. But that can go just overlapping . So can you see how that's changed the whole dynamic of the picture? Now we've got rid of white. There is absolutely no white colour in this picture. I'm happier now I've changed that blue to teal. It looks less sky, more electric, more brooding, yeah. You see, you could add more glazes. in the clouds. If you wanted more of an ochre-y feel, again, while we're waiting for that brown to dry, I'll show you. If I use the yellow ochre and add a lot of water to it, it does mean that the highlights will stay highlighted, but it does have a slightly more somber, sinister glow to it. And that's just water and white, as long as it's dry underneath. See, what I might do is, as that's drying, let's get some ochre. Not clean my brush, let's get some ochre and a bit of white. Maybe, yeah. And let's see what that looks like. You could use a fan brush, I guess, but we're just lightly tapping to get a bit of texture. The fan brush would give you a grassier feel, I suppose. I'm just checking I've got a fan brush. I think I have. Knocking about. Oh, a fan. Okay. Fan brush is a fan-shaped brush. Usually the hog hair ones are better. I want to show you what one is, just in case, because not everybody's seen one. Like that. Let me give that brush a good clean. First time my water has changed from being blue-grey. It's been blue-grey all the way through. Now it's a beige mushroom colour. So I'll let that dry, and then we'll put a few more layers of slightly lighter ochre with a bit of white on there. If you wanted to brighten it, you could add a bit of cadmium yellow. Right, I don't want to wet the fan brush, but I'm going to have to because it's really, really dry. So if I really go back into that ochre colour, really load it up, add a bit of white. I don't want to cover all of that white though, because I need that white for oh, I've got a big blob there. There we go. I need that white for my lightning. I'm not going to use a gel pen. I'm too much of a chicken. And I can't keep afford to replacing my gel pen every 30 minutes. I know I sell loads of them here, but obviously the idea is for me to sell them, not for me to keep using them all up. Let's go with a little bit more white. Again, I don't want pure white. The pure white will be for the lightning. It looks like there's little fence posts in the background, so I might do something with that. Or maybe mix a bit of ochre, burnt sienna, a bit of cadmium red, why not? A bit of blue. Just to get some different tones in that background, because I've just made it blue. Ooh, a bit of cerulean in there, it's quite nice as well. And that ties it all together, because basically what you don't want is for all of the colours to work well together in the sky, and then when you're doing your ground, you use totally different colours, which is what we've done, isn't it? We've used a totally different colour. So by introducing the cerulean and the cadmium red into the burnt sienna, we can get some interesting textures. And I might use that. Oh, I like that. I might use that colour, or even some black possibly. For just some fence posts or something right at the back. It looks like an electricity or a telegraph pole or a something right in the middle. I can't quite work out what it is, so I'm not going to paint what I think it could be, because then that won't be that. However, I will do that after the lightning, so I want that to dry, although I'm going to forcefully dry it with my hairdryer. And this is only so I can lean on it, because I'm a terrible leaner. And I need a decent amount of white. Now, my water is dirty, but as long as I keep the brush dipped in the very, very top layer, I should be alright. Because acrylic is heavy, so it sinks. But you may find that you do want to use a gel pen, because it will give you a much thinner line. Roll the brush around in the dilute white. It's not exactly like that lightning, but I don't care. So I may actually use a gel pen on top of that when I know that this is dry. So if I add a bit of black to that colour while you're doing that, I'll just see how fence posts or whatever look in the distance. If I did a telegraph, well, a telephone pole kind of with a T, so you really want your paint to be runny like ink, and you roll your brush around to give you your thin line. I don't know, something like that. It's showing up way better on the screen than in real life, and I think if I can get the white gel pen on top of that, yeah, really runny. It's got to be like milk the white. It's so hard to do. I know. I appreciate this. That what's really hard is for you need the paint runny to flow, but you need it opaque at the same time. Yes. Wow, I've really enjoyed that. It's very rare, as I say, we do get the chance to do a whole cloud study. Next week it's more of a rural landscape with a wall and gateway, so it's more of a traditional landscape next week. Not next week, in a fortnight. So coming up this week, tomorrow afternoon, a badger in the bluebells in pencil. Thursday morning is yellow roses and rosebuds in watercolour. Thursday afternoon, wildflowers across the Anza Borrego Desert State Park. That will also be repeated on Monday evening. Friday afternoon is a peaceful coast with a silhouette of lamp and seafront. Saturday morning is calligraphy, and we're looking at basic letter formation, how to what guides we can use to give a skeleton alphabet, just very basic even letters, and I've created my own guide line for that out of lots of circles and shapes and things. Quite interesting. And then Sunday morning is our monthly watercolour class, and we're doing an old barn. And then Monday morning from Wardington is an eerie woodland walk in watercolour. Monday evening is the wildflowers across the Anza Borrego Desert State Park. And nothing next Tuesday at all, or in the evening, because I'm in Byfield for 5 weeks. So I hope you've enjoyed today. It's been a very different scene. Maybe a flash of cadmium yellow across the front would maybe make it feel a bit more electrified. I don't know. But I've really enjoyed doing that. I think my lighting might be a bit too thick, but I'm certainly not changing it now. So it's been really lovely to have your... Let's have a look. Hey, for your first time, that's really good. Honestly. Yeah. See how it's like. They're well done. Well done. yeah, obviously see how it looks tomorrow, and it always looks different in the morning. That's where you can decide whether you want to add any more highlights or change anything. But honestly, I'm loving what it looks like on the telly. I'm not. It doesn't look as impressive in real life, so maybe that's good. I don't know. Oh, thank you. Have a wonderful week ahead. Stay safe. Stay hydrated. Make sure you're drinking plenty while we're in this heat wave that we weren't expecting. And look after yourselves. And I'm sure I'll see you on one of the classes over the next week. If not, stay safe. If you need to buy anything, don't forget the shop is open Tuesday to Saturday 10 till 4. Or you can join shop online anytime, and we post out between Tuesdays and Fridays. First class, so you usually get it next day. So thanks ever so much. Take care, everybody. Have a wonderful week, and I will see you all soon. And I look forward to seeing what you've created. Bye bye, everybody. Bye bye.